Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Salt and Burn This. My name is Sammy.
I'm Valerie.
Welcome back. We are no
Sammy.
longer in the same room. We're back to the
No,
Zooming.
no, totally different states,
Yeah.
but still not in our prospective homes. Like I'm in Virginia at my sister's, which by the way has been overtaken by cicadas. It's that 17-year cicada
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
and they should rename cicadas to like drunken buggery because these, I mean, they're completely harmless,
They are. Yeah.
but they're just big and they yell at you. So it's like they're
Yeah.
drunkenly flying
And
around.
they're clumsy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So it's like they land on you and they're like, "Oh, thank God, yeah,
Yeah.
a place to land."
Yeah.
And then if you like flip them off your body wherever they land, they yell at you. They're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I was." It's so funny. It's so funny, and sometimes they do take you off guard. So sometimes you do the girly and other
Yeah.
times
Sure.
you can actually see them coming and like duck out of the way or
Yeah.
sidestep out of the way. It's really funny. Yeah, they just are drunken, clumsy bugs. It's very
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I was watching, I think it was maybe CBS Sunday Morning. They did a piece on them like before they came out or like right when they were coming out, and it's like all these bug people, what entomologists, I think is the term.
I think so. Yeah.
Whatever the sciencey term is for the people who study bugs, but they're all like, "Oh my God, we're so excited
So
about the cicadas!" Because I understand it's once every 17 years. That is kind of a big deal, and it's a
right.
strange, like nature is amazing, that they just live underground for 17 years and then all of them all at once come up
Yep. Come
for
up.
their little mating ritual and then they
sh-
die.
Yeah. Shed their skin, mate, and then fall dead.
Yes.
Fall dead in the yard
Yes.
or on the
and
sidewalks.
and
Ooh.
predators, this is like a woohoo time for them because
Snack
they
you,
don't run
snack
away. Like you said, they're
snacks.
drunken bugs, so they're just like doop 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 doop,
Yep.
and they're super easy to catch. So like
Oh my gosh.
like
The
everything that
dogs.
could eat bugs, yeah, they're just like fat because it's just like oh nom, nom. They don't even have to work for it.
What are they like?
Nom, nom,
Nom,
nom, nom,
nom,
nom.
nom.
But people eat them too.
I mean, I'm not there yet.
No,
I'm
I
not
don't
there
think I
yet.
am either.
The whole fried bug things. I think when it comes time where we have to really start implementing bugs into our diet because we've decimated everything else, I could see it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
They fry the bugs.
there.
They put them in chocolate chip cookies. They put them in ice cream. It's kind of it's weird. Like,
It's
it's a
weird.
choice.
I was gonna say if we grew up with it, maybe,
Sure.
but
Right.
introducing big drunken bugs into your diet is
Yeah.
like and then there's the people who say, well, you know how many bugs you eat on a daily basis. It's like, yeah, I get it, but
Yeah.
I'm not intentionally, stir
Putting
frying.
them in a cupcake or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Are you drinking a frothy beverage?
This is peaches and white wine.
Oh,
It's
very
delicious.
nice.
It's like a simple, refreshing summer beverage.
Nice.
One of many in the rotation.
Because don't want to get bored. Got to
No,
switch it up.
no.
Got to keep it fresh. Oh, I just realized I missed something, and it's stupid, but I'm going to mention it because it made me. Remember, I keep saying I'm trying to take fewer detailed notes so as not to
Right.
bog the podcast down
Uh-huh.
in the minutia of Valerie. Um, what episode was it? It was Wicked,
Hmm.
something Wicked. And they're heading up into the hospital to visit the kids. The
Yes.
as the bikini inspectors,
Yes, yes, yes.
and they it was real quick. They just showed the outside of the hospital, and I was like, yet another hospital that has like a giant flight of stairs to get up to the main floor of the hospital, but there's an ambulance parked out front to signify
Just
that
make it a
it's
hospital.
a hospital. And I went back and I was just kind of watching. I was like, oh, a missed opportunity to mock the hospital
You
choices
know
for
what?
this
I think
show.
I noticed that too. I think I was thinking, it's like, is this the same as the Bloody Mary Hospital steps?
Maybe, but maybe not. It the facade was different, so maybe they just changed the front of the stairs. But the fact that
Right.
there's a giant flight of stairs leading
Yeah.
up to this thing, I was just like, ugh, really? God, that's got to be a worse thing to be like an EMT, the paramedic who has to like haul the
Yeah.
bodies, the gurneys. Gunk, 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 stat, gunk,
Right. Oh God. The most fit EMTs you've ever seen.
Right?
Season 1, Episode 20, Dead Man's Blood. Written by Catherine Humphris and John Shaban, and directed by Tony Hornby. Just a fun little tidbit. This original air date was on 4/20
I
of
don't know what you mean.
2006.
I don't know what you mean, Sammy.
Well, it was illegal back then. Now, though.
But in Colorado, where this takes
In
place.
2006?
Oh, no, you're right.
No.
Sorry.
Reunion. After an aging spook hunter falls prey to the vampires he thought he had long ago destroyed, John Winchester joins his sons to battle the bloodsuckers and retrieve an unearthly gun they possess.
So, based on the recap at the beginning of the show, I was like, oh, this is going to be a daddy issue episode.
Yes, totally.
Because they played every scene that John Winchester has been in since the beginning as the recap.
Yeah.
I was like,
honestly,
boy.
the second time I started watching it, I was like, did I click the wrong episode? Because I thought I was in
the John Winchester episode.
Yeah.
But I also had a question for you. The title of this one, obviously more than one word, so Dead Man's Blood.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had that thought because I've seen other episodes, I know what Dead Man's Blood is. But my first thought in reading this was blood as in kin, as in relations. And is this a nudge to John Winchester and his blood, like his boys, John Winchester?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I don't think they were there yet because every other title in this other season is straightforward.
Okay. So it really was just Dead Man's Blood.
I think so, because there's dead in the water.
Right. And
someone's dead in the water.
Right.
Hookman. There's a hookman. Bugs, skin. So even if it's more than one word, it's just
the title in reference to that episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really not until next season that they start to get creative with them.
Right.
I think they felt like, okay, I guess we can go a little bit more punny and campy or creative with the titles.
Or foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good. Actually, that makes me, I'd rather it just be straightforward.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Blood. So MapQuest, super easy, takes place in Manning, Colorado, which is made up.
I totally forgot to look that up. So I'm glad you did.
Yep, it's another supernatural town.
All right.
But luckily for them, Colorado does look suspiciously like Canada with snow-capped mountains.
Right. It looked like Colorado. I was like, I can definitely believe this is Colorado.
Yep. So good for them.
Yeah. So in our opening teaser, we see this old guy at a bar looking at, suspiciously, looks like a John Winchester journal type of thing, or a hunter's journal.
Did you read any of the pages?
I couldn't see them, no.
Oh, okay, are you ready for this?
Go for it.
All right, I zoomed in. I hit pause and I zoomed in just because.
Sure.
There's some really meaty stuff in there about...
Yeah?
This is definitely a hunter's journal.
Yeah.
So one part of it says in big letters, more powerful spirits. Going to Lawrence, ... the center, ... Yep.
Ooh.
John Winchester came in to inform us about the enemy is gaining power. Possessions are popping up more frequently. The spirits attacked his house and killed his wife just a few days ago.
Oh my God.
So here's a question.
Interesting.
Here's a question.
I think I know what your question's going to be, but yes, go ahead.
John knew about spirits before his wife was killed. Yep.
In this version. So obviously the story changed later on.
Yep.
They decided to switch it up.
Now, on the next page, the only thing I could make out was the word elephant. So I'm not quite sure how seriously we should take anything that's written in this journal.
I did notice some symbols, like hunterish or
I couldn't figure those out.
kind of symbols, but
they they didn't pop out as anything that we'd seen in other episodes or
Right.
anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so
Oh, that's
elephant,
interesting.
John Winchester.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We should put a spoiler. I should have put a spoiler alert in front of that because okay, so right now, as of right now, the canon is that John has always known that
right.
it's always been hunter life, you
Yep.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Although, even later in this episode, I'm getting like way ahead of myself. It sounded like he didn't. So I'll elaborate more on that when we get to that moment. But
Okay.
okay, so anyway, this old guy is looking at his hunter's journal at a bar. Kind of spacey, the bartender says, "Hey, buddy." Or not
Yeah,
that mean. He's
he's
not that
no,
mean.
he's
He's just
just
like,
fully
"Elkins, Elkins."
engrossed. Yeah,
Yes.
he's just fully engrossed in his journal and the
Yeah.
clippings that he's looking at.
Yes, yes. But, he obviously comes to this bar a lot because she talks to another patron who's like, "Who's that weird guy?" And she's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, he's harmless. He's just here every day."
he's nuts, but he's nice.
Yes, exactly. Which, having been a bartender and a waitress in several different places, those people do exist. You get the kind of wackos that come in and that, first you're like, what's going on with this guy? But, they're nice. They're nice. They're just a little eccentric.
Focused, yes.
Yeah. But he becomes unfocused once another group of people come in the bar. They're like,
I call
young
them
adults, kind of
the Leather and
rockers.
Denim group. The Leather
Say
and
that again.
Denim group. I
There you go.
can't. I don't think I could. Leather and Denim group
There you go.
walk in.
Yes, I would describe them as that as well. And that's when Elkin's like really kind of bullseye focuses on them, walking in. And they get a table kind of far away from him and they shout to the bartenders like, "Bottle of Jack." Which she does not grab a bottle of Jack, by the way.
I know. I wasn't
I
gonna.
don't know what she grabs. I think
It
it's like
was
Johnny
not.
Walker or something, but
Yeah.
it was not a Jack Daniels whiskey
Yeah.
bottle.
I didn't want to be that girl, so thank you. Thank you for doing that one for me. I
You
made the
are
note. I
welcome.
actually wrote down, "Will Sammy catch this?" So, and if you didn't, I wasn't gonna say anything. But yeah, but they're like all cocky and they kind
Mhm.
of look like they're ready for trouble, they just
Yeah.
have that edge, that air about them.
Yeah,
And
totally.
and this guy, it's like he noticed them, like he sensed them and then turns and sees them and then watches them
Mhm.
and is like, "I'm out."
Yeah, just disappears.
He's
Like bartender turns around, checks on him again and he's not there.
he's yeah, there could have been a little puff of smoke, if you wanted to make it
Sure.
comical. He was gone.
Yeah. Mhm. So he runs home. He unlocks his 17 locks on the door.
And he's got like a
Eh,
total hunter's cabin.
yes, it's like in the woods. It's unkempt,
Right. I
on
mean,
the inside and the outside.
there's notes taped to the wall, there's
Mhm.
newspaper clippings, I mean, there's sketches, like it's just like his journal, but like all over the wall. There's books
Yes.
stacked everywhere. This
It's
guy is
dark.
researching something.
Yes.
Um and but he relocks his door
Mhm.
and runs to his desk looking for something, and he turns around and Leather Girl from the bar is
Mhm.
in his cabin.
Yeah.
And they exchange like not pleasantries, but
No.
long time no see. So clearly they
Right.
know each other. They've had some sort of run in with each other.
Right.
And probably not a good one.
No, I did not
Nope.
get that.
Um, and for an old guy, he whips out this knife and like throws
Yeah.
it, like embeds it in her chest, and she doesn't die. And in fact, she seems rather put off by the fact that he's thrown a
She's
knife at her. And she's
yeah.
like, "Aw." And I don't know if she was upset that maybe her shirt got ripped or something.
Yeah,
But
I bet that's what it was.
yeah, so she pulls this blade out, and in the meantime, this guy has run into another room,
Mhm.
locked the door, and like shoved a bookcase in front of it, and is now
Right.
frantically trying to open a safe on the other side
Right.
of the room.
Right. Did you notice her eyeballs?
Yes, yes,
They're
they
like a shifty
reflected.
kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they like
looked like a shapeshifter
yeah,
eyes
like the skin
from
guy. Yeah,
mhm.
except they
Mhm.
were gold. They kind of
I,
had like a gold
yeah, I
silver.
guess they weren't quite as obviously silver as or like
Right.
there was a
They didn't go
sound
flip
effect.
flip. Yeah.
Right, there was a sound effect with the shapeshifter eyes where they go
Right. Yeah,
or
hers were
something
almost
like
like
that.
cat eyes where they just
Yeah.
kind of caught the reflection. Yes, I
Yeah.
did notice
Yeah.
that. I did notice that. So clearly, this is not a human. The fact that her eyes are flippy flippy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and she was not killed by
A knife straight to
a
the
knife
chest.
through the chest. Yeah.
So yes, he goes into this office. He's like rummaging around for something. Takes out a case, like a wooden case, which
Hmm.
there's an old gun in it.
Like this old, beautiful, old timey gun and little bullets like stacked up inside.
Yes, loads the gun, but then like two people like drop down into from his skylight.
Yeah, smash through, and it's like this slow motion as
Yes.
they almost like they flew in,
Yeah, yeah.
like coming in for a landing type of thing.
Yeah, and at the same time, the leather girl has like busted through the office, so he gets attacked from above and.
And yep, yep, and they knock the gun out of his hand,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's just completely trapped. And what does leather girl say? She's like, "Oh, nice gun, you know,
Mm-hmm.
too bad it won't work.
Right.
Like it doesn't work on us or something like that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then makes something punny comment about like, "Oh, we're eating in tonight," and then camera
Oh,
pulls away, and all you hear are just like horrified screams and like crunching
crunching
sounds.
and
Yeah.
yes, yes,
So,
Elkins.
assumably, these people are eating him.
Right. And title screen. So the next scene we have Sam and Dean in a diner. I don't know where though. I didn't check the I don't know if there's a Chiron.
There, what I rewound it a couple times just to make sure, but there
Yeah.
wasn't one.
Okay. And they're just looking for cases.
Yeah.
Dean's looking through newspapers and Sam's on the computer and they can't find anything. I think there's here Sam says, well, what about this? And he talks about a woman who like fell out of an airplane and lived, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And Dean says, well, that's incredible, less Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Were those on TV? I know Twilight Zone has come and gone several times in our lifetimes, but did you ever watch That's Incredible as a kid?
No, I have no idea what that is. Is it
Y-
something like Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of thing?
yes, that's
Oh, okay.
exactly it. Like literally the story of a woman falling out of an airplane and living would be That's Incredible.
I see.
And the show starts with the audience going, "That's incredible!" Dun, 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 and the
Wow.
host,
Nope.
it,
Never heard of that show
oh
before in
my
my
gosh,
life.
yeah, it was that, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's incredible, incredible things happening. So anyway,
Yeah.
but then when they get to the case about, they come across Elkin's case,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who just got torn apart by vampires.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that sounds supernatural. That sounds more
Well,
like
it
our
was like,
thing.
yeah, like, where Dean was more like, well, first he suggests, oh, maybe we go back upstate and
Oh,
visit
that's right,
Sarah.
Sarah.
She
And
was seem pretty into you.
yeah, and from the Providence episode, which they never do. They never do those types of callbacks,
Right.
right? And Sam was like, boop. He's like, no.
Yeah, yeah. He was like, maybe later, but we got work to do. And Dean, for once, lets it go. He's
Let
like,
it go.
yeah, you're right. Okay,
You're right.
fine. But when he hears this name Elkins, it strikes a chord with him, and
Mhm.
then he whips out, good old
Dad's journal.
dad's journal, finds a page with his name and his phone number on it.
Right. I think it's funny that he knows where it is in the journal. Like, aha, I can't write notes and then 10 minutes
No, no,
later
absolutely
go
not.
back and find what idea I was looking for.
Oh
So
no.
that's just me.
Yeah.
So I
No,
was very
me
impressed
neither.
with his ability to be like Elkins, 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 and then finds it in the
Yeah,
journal.
just like flips a few
Flip, flip,
pages. And it's
flip.
like, oh, here it is. I
Here it
mean, I
is.
guess maybe if you're reading this over and over again, you kind of sort of know, like if it's in the
Yeah.
first third or like the last few,
Right. Right.
but no,
Um.
I'm the same way because I keep a bullet journal for my active, like my agenda is something
Oh.
that I build, piece by like page by page.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to keep an index because sometimes if there's a blank page, and I'm just like writing a random notes of
Yep.
something, then I have to go to the index and I have to write down what page
Where?
number it is because otherwise and I'm just like flipping, which is the most annoying thing.
Just wasting time looking
Yeah.
for the recognition. Like where
Yes,
there's
because it's just randomly placed somewhere in between, week 2 and 3 of April,
right, right, right. Did you notice that Elkin's name was not Elkins though?
I did not notice that, but I did see it written. I think it was like on IMDb. I think I
Yeah,
had scrolled down and saw a thing about
yeah.
it, but
They didn't. Luckily, they didn't focus on it for too long.
no.
But it was just the S was missing. It was
Yeah.
just Elkin, like D Elkin. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, have they been saying Elkins? But
Yeah.
little things like that. Who cares?
Sure.
I'm still going to mention it. Still going to point it out. But yeah, so Dad has mentioned Elkins. I mean, it's in his journal. I take that
Right.
back. He hasn't mentioned it. It's in his
No.
journal.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that his phone number is a Colorado area code. So
Yes.
what are the chances of this guy being attacked in Colorado and this guy in Dad's journal is from Colorado
Sure.
with the
Sure.
same name?
So off they go to Colorado. They find his house and they go in and did you recognize it?
I did. I was like, that's the scene.
Yeah.
That's the
So before I haven't edited the episode yet, and I don't think that I recorded this anyway.
Oh.
But on the DVD, since we were in the same room, on the DVD, on the last disc, there's a series of special features, and one of them is a day in the life of Sam and Dean, or Jared and Jensen, or something like that. So it's just like a little mini documentary, I guess you could say, of them filming an episode. And we were watching this. And we're like, I didn't recognize this scene at all, or the set, or what's going on. And it was this house. Yes.
Yeah, it was Dean walking in and going, like, walking into the cabin and looking at all the papers on the desk. And we're like,
yes.
aha.
Yep.
That's how we know it.
So amongst this huge mess of a house, they find a salt circle. It's definitely a salt circle and not just a pile of spilled salt.
Right.
They find his journal.
Yep.
They say this looks just like Dad's, except, way older.
Yeah, it goes back to the 60s.
Mm-hmm. And they find the empty gun case. They find
Dean,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dean finds the wooden box that the gun was kept in.
Yeah.
Did you notice that when they were going through his desk, though, that there was an old printer cable in the background, and it was like a serial parallel cable?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's how old that printer must have been. That this guy had a printer that no longer was a USB accessible. It was before USB, the serial parallel ports. It kind of cracked me up that there was this like old printer cable hanging in just the peripheral, serial parallel. I'll show you pictures later.
Are these the printers that do you have to tear away
that would be the
perforated dots?
But yes, exactly.
I do remember those, but I never paid attention to what cables they were attached to because I was in grade school and I didn't care about that kind of thing.
Yeah, serial are the cables that have all the little pins in them, like pin, and then parallel look like it kind of looks like a USB, except it's like this wide. Right. It has a thick parallel line through it that you would slot in. So
I see.
One went into the printer, one went into the computer, so it's called a serial parallel port. But anyway,
before my time.
I need to stop pointing. I need to stop pointing out those things.
You're showing your age.
Myself. But somebody's watching the boys outside. Someone outside in the woods is watching them. Yep. And when Dean goes, when he finds the empty case, because he knelt down to pick it up, he also notices like scratches on the floor.
That's in a different room, but yeah, they go into, or it could have been in the same room, but at some point they go from his like living room area, I guess, into the office in which Elkins was murdered. Mm-hmm. And yes, that is where he finds his scratches. It could have been the same. I didn't make that distinction in my notes, but
yeah. But I mean, there's blood everywhere.
Yes, they find the broken the skylight. Yeah. And then yes, Dean sees all the scratches on the floor, and he makes a rubbing of it. Yep. There's like a combination of letters and numbers, and Sam recognizes that as a P.O. box location and combination.
Yeah. Right. I have a question though. If it's just a TV show, Valerie, but if Elkins was being torn apart and eaten, did he have time to etch the or do you think that was there on the floor before as a just in case?
I had actually thought of that as well, because I was like, I feel like they would have definitely left him for dead.
You don't think they would have just devoured him?
Well, no, that's what I mean, is like they definitely would have tortured him and killed him for sure, and not just been like, oh, a boop, and then left, and there's a chance that he's still alive.
Right.
Because he was on the desk when they were attacking him, and these scratches were on the floor a few feet in front of the desk.
Right. So who while being eaten alive scratches out a
Right.
full PO box. you know.
Right. Right. So I want to say that it was probably there, but there's also like a splatters of blood around it, which
Mhm.
suggests that he did it while he was dead. And even Sam mentions, are these death throes? Which I did have to look that up because I was like, what the
Oh.
fuck are those?
Oh, like
Which are just like
the
dramatic, like
flailing.
thrashings when you're
Yeah.
dying. So I guess for me, I'm just gonna say, as a hunter, he probably just had that there as a precaution.
I mean, if he, because we find out that, the boys go to the post office and they are able to very guiltily unlock, key into, or what
Mm.
is it, pick the lock of that P.O.
Well, I
box.
think it's a combination. It's like one of those like little built-in,
Oh,
like a
okay.
locker,
Well,
like how there's a built-in thingy.
oh, okay. Well, they're able to get there and
Yeah.
open that PO box, and
Uh-huh.
they look guilty as hell while they're doing it. But they get the letter out of the PO box, which means that Elkins has put in place things for
Yes.
in the event of my death type of
Right.
thing. So maybe he did scratch that on the floor
Right.
before he died, leading people to the letter that he had already placed in the PO box. So,
Yeah.
but the letter that they find in the PO box is addressed to JW.
Hmm.
So could it be John Winchester?
I think Sam even says that, and then
Yeah.
right after he says that, there's a like knock knock on the window of the car, and it's John Winchester.
And it scares the living crap out of both of them, which is so
Yeah.
funny because they both have the exact same expression on their face. They're like,
Yeah.
and then they see dad, but it's so like out of context for them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just like, what? You know, yeah. And
Totally.
then dad jumps in the backseat of the car and is like, hello, boys.
Yeah, like nothing happened, and they're just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I've been tracking you. Good job in, covering your
Mm-hmm.
tracks and, the one compliment he ever gives them. But John takes the letter from them and reads it. He doesn't read it out loud, except for
No,
the if
like,
you're reading this, I must already be dead. And that's where he
right.
stops reading out loud and
Uh-huh.
doesn't clue the boys into what's in the rest of the letter. Except he's like, son of a gun, son of a whatever. He's had the thing all along,
Mm-hmm.
and asks Dean and Sam, "Did you guys see a gun at the cabin, like an old gun?" And Dean says, "No, just an empty box." And this is where Sam starts to like, "Why? What's
Yeah.
going on?"
Yeah, throughout this encounter, he's been like, "You never mentioned this before. You never told us that before," and blah
Yeah,
blah blah. He's
how do
really
you
kind
know
of,
Elkins? You've never mentioned Elkins. You've never
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
a gun that Elkins had. And what's going on? And John's like, "Well, now they have it." And it's like, "Who's they?
Yes.
Who?" And that's when John admits that there's these like vampires. And Dean and Sam are like, "Vampires
Yeah.
don't exist. Those aren't real." And as it turns out, their X-Files moment,
Right.
they are real. And
Yes. He
Elkins was
thought that
hunt.
they were, yeah, he thought they were extinct because Elkins, that was his like key monster that he hunted,
Mhm.
and John thought that he had hunted them to extinction.
Right.
It turns out he was wrong.
Yeah.
I find it funny that these boys who hunt like the most supernatural of things and are constantly telling people,
There's monsters under your bed. Yeah.
yes, that they're like, vampires, what?
Why wouldn't they believe?
But it is kind of funny though because there are so many vampire things in pop culture and in the world,
Right.
so I assume in this universe it also is that way, and so that would be the one thing like, yeah, right,
Right. Psh, psh,
yeah,
right.
something Anne Rice made up.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Now, I would like to do a rundown of the supernatural vampire because I'm a huge vampire nerd. I fucking love them. Um, and I love almost every origin story that exists about vampires. I am particularly a fan of Anne Rice and Dracula, but
right.
I feel like every author, filmmaker, creator wants to have their own spin on the vampire
Yeah, there's
origin
always one little twist that they
or
have
their
to
myth.
add. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I've got my
Yes.
coffee, so go ahead.
Okay. So the supernatural vampire. Sun does not kill them. It just feels like a bad sunburn. But they can walk out in the sun. It just
It,
hurts kind of
yeah.
bad. They cannot be killed by a stake through the heart, but they can be killed by beheading. they do need fresh human blood. That's kind of the standard across the board of vampire myths, is they need fresh blood. Sometimes they can substitute animal blood, as they call vegetarians,
Right, right,
or they'll go to a blood bank,
right.
and
So they're
buy it
not
off of there.
killing to, yeah.
Right, right. The way they kill is that they have a second set of teeth that descends like from the gum line,
Oh,
you
instead of
know?
fangs, instead of the built-in like Dracula
The built-in
fangs,
fangs that already live there, or sometimes in other myths, like the fangs,
it's
like your
just the fangs
canine
that come up and
teeth,
down.
they
Yeah.
they grow, yeah. They usually hoard their victims for days or weeks, draining them, but they can just, if they just want a quick snack or like to kill, just a
Chomp.
quick to turn somebody into a vampire, all they have to do is drink the vampire blood.
Oh.
So like an Anne
Oh, so it's
Rice.
not the bite. It's not
Yeah,
the
for instance, in Anne Rice, it's usually the vampire needs to drain the victim or like suck them all like to the point of death. And then they force the victim to drink. It's kind of like this weird cycle thing. They
okay.
drink from the vampire itself, so he's got their own blood mixed in with the vampire blood. It's a whole thing. So
Ugh.
in Supernatural, it's just like they just need a taste of the
I get,
vampire blood, apparently.
okay.
They usually run in packs or nests rather than solo, and they mate for life.
Okay, and those are the supernatural.
Yes, those are the things that I gathered from this episode, with the acceptance of one that's going to come a little bit later.
Okay.
And there's also more things that will come throughout the series, but I don't want to.
Sure.
For
Sure,
right
sure.
now, this is canon.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, you did that was beautiful. I wrote down stake in the heart doesn't kill them, sunlight doesn't kill them, eyes reflect light. That was my research into the supernatural vampire. So, Sammy for the
No,
win.
you caught. Well, I'm such a dork with
I
the
love it.
vampires.
Oh.
It's like, well, this is better than Twilight. I'll just say that. And better than the Vampire Diaries. I like the Buffy vampires as well, because they completely transform when they become like the feral
Yes.
vampire,
Yes.
like when they're in the feeding
Yep.
moment.
Yep.
That's an interesting twist.
I do
But
love though that these particular vampires in Supernatural are like I described them. They're leather, wearing denim, but in Buffy, like they make fun of the idea that vampires wear leather and denim.
like that one episode where it's
Yeah.
like cool to be a vampire, and they're like,
And then one guy's wearing a cape. They're like,
there's a role playing game that I forget what it's called, but Shayna and Matt used to play it,
oh
friends
my
of ours.
gosh.
But it's like you kind of do that. You dress up and you pretend to be a vampire, and it's like a whole, you just get together and you pretend to be vampires and
Right.
do things. But
There was an episode where I think it may have been the same one we're talking about, where Angel's like in this club where all these like vampire wannabes are, and he's like,
mm-hmm.
"Who dresses like this?" And then
Yeah,
someone walked by wearing like
it's like
Angel's exact outfit. So, speaking of vampires,
yes,
the next scene has our group of leather and denim wearing vampires
yes,
drinking and kind of hooping it up in the
mm-hmm.
woods.
Yeah,
And I guess they're getting ready to like set a trap to
mm-hmm.
get some food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so cut to this fresh young couple driving their car down a
Yeah,
scary
foggy
unlit
road. Yeah.
backcountry road. And they're kind of teasing each other. This couple couldn't be like more vanilla.
Vanilla. Yeah, I was just gonna say vanilla. Yes.
Oh my gosh, she's harping on him, not harping, she's teasing him about his rather loud shirt that he has. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey lady, your shirt's got like puffy shoulders and lace. What are
Right.
you talking about?"
Yeah.
I was like, "You have no room to stand." But anyway, so they're just like fun kind of, picking on each other to the point where he's distracted and doesn't see that there's a body laying in the road. The girl sees it, screams, and they slam on the brakes. They don't know what's happening. He says, "Call 911. I'm going to go check, on this mysterious body laying in the road." And of course, once he gets out of the car and leans up near the guy, it's a vampire. His fangs like come down out of his
Yeah.
gums, and we assume he grabs the
Yeah.
couple.
Yeah. It goes to black.
Yep. I wrote down like a cat's claws. So they like cat's claws detract, and so
Ooh.
it's kind of like cat's claws, which
It is, but in your mouth.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So one more like animal, like crossbreed, like their eyes do the thing, reflect
Yeah.
like cats. Maybe
Uh-huh.
their teeth come down, not like cats, but like cats' claws. Okay.
Yeah.
So cut to the Winchesters are, I'm assuming, in a motel, like a cabin like
Mm-hmm.
motel. Dean and Sam are asleep in bed, but they're not like under the covers or on top of the covers.
Yeah.
So either just so exhausted that they didn't go to bed, or they're just sleeping and are ready to like jump out of bed if anything
Yeah.
happens.
I assume they're probably like just taking turns, like on watch kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
situation.
And John's awake and he's listening to a police scanner and he hears the 911 call come across and he's like, that's
Mm-hmm.
it, we got to go, it's the
Yep.
vampires. And the boys jump up and when John says it's a vampire, Sam's like, well, how do you know? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's like,
I called him being a little bit lawyer-y because he's like, why? Why? How do you know? What's the
yeah,
clue? He's just like
yeah,
continuously trying to get to the bottom of the picture.
right. It's like,
John not giving it up.
can we just go? Can you just listen to me, follow me, let's go? And a part of me is like, okay, why does Sam keep doing that? And then the other part of me is like, John, just answer the fucking question.
Right. Yeah.
I understand.
Yes.
It's like, let's talk on the way. Let's go. I always say, let's walk and talk. Yes, you have things to do, but you can explain things as you go.
Yes. I
But
wrote that. I wrote
John
something like
doesn't
that
do
a little bit later.
that.
When after, then John turns into dad and is like chiding Dean for not
Ugh.
taking care of the car.
So mean. And Dean was like, what? I, he takes such pride in that car. And plus
I know.
he wasn't talking back to dad. He wasn't doing
Yeah,
anything
he
to
was the one
deserve
trying to
that.
like mediate the situation. He was just like,
Yeah.
let's just go.
Yeah. John's just like, there's that car's gonna rust. I shouldn't have given you that car if you weren't gonna take care of it. It's like, well, and I think Dean is not only is it like, where did that come from, but he's also crushed that his dad picked on him
I
because he's
know.
such the good soldier. He's such the good, yes sir, no sir. Whenever dad pops up, he turns into the subordinate.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I felt bad
Yeah.
for him.
But I did, but it was also kind of a
He's
cute
like,
parent
hey,
moment,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, what did
That's
what?
something my parents would do to me. So when John is talking to the cops and Sam is again expressing his frustration about dad's
Treating us like
process.
children. Why
Yes.
doesn't he just tell us?
Yes. And, I was like, on one hand, where did the sympathetic Sam from Something Wicked go? Where he was just like, Dean, I understand why you do what you do. Like, I don't do it, but I get why you do it. But then on the other hand, they are adults now, Sam and Dean.
Right.
This is like for the past 6 months or so, I'm guessing, they have been hunting alone by themselves. And this is also the first time that as adults they've been interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Sam he was gone for what, like 6 years, I think?
Yeah.
I'm assuming 4 years of undergrad and then 2 years of grad school.
Sure.
So he was like, what, 16 or 17 or 18 when he left. And so now they're both like adults. And they've been going on for months hunting by themselves with very little help from dad. And
Right.
the help that does come from dad is just like a nudge and like, go over here.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
go over there.
Exactly. So dad's been telling them to go hunting, so it's
Yeah.
not like he doesn't trust them to
Right.
take care of themselves
Right.
and
And
finish
I
the
do
job.
feel, yeah, well, I was semi-annoyed just because we had come from, so Sam has had a few touching moments with dad or about dad. But I think now he's like defending Dean. He's just like, you're capable enough to do this on your own. We've been doing this on our own, and dad is still treating us like it was, 6 to 10 years ago where
Right.
we don't need to know
Yeah,
these kinds of things.
I wonder if it was a combination for Sam that not only was dad treating them like kids, but Dean fell back into, like I said, like soldier mode
Yeah.
and was just yes sir, no sir, and
Yeah.
wasn't being himself. He
Right.
wasn't taking
Right.
the lead. He was just kind of subservient to
Yeah.
John. So
Yeah.
maybe Sam is seeing these dynamics.
Yes,
You
and
know,
he's just
it,
like, no, 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 no,
no,
no, no,
no,
no. It
yeah,
cannot be this way
we're
anymore.
not gonna go back to
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
So what?
fully on Sam's side, even though it was a little bit annoying. But like once I sat, like, watched a little bit and started thinking about like where Sam would be
Yeah.
or all of them would be, in
Right.
this moment. I was like, you know what? Sam is right here. He's right to cause a scene over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because he's standing up for himself. I mean, there's
Yeah,
moments when you do need to acquiesce and just be like, okay, I'm going to save this for later. Let's go.
yeah,
But then there are times to be like, just we need to talk about this because
right. We can handle this information. We're not young anymore. Just freaking tell us.
right, right. And we're also not at your beck and call.
Right. And Dean, you can kind of see Dean loosening up a little bit. He's kind of,
He's starting to hear what Sam is saying.
yeah, exactly. So anyway,
Yeah.
oh, here's where
So
I made a note. I could not remember the name of the movie of the vampires that had Kiefer Sutherland in it from the
Lost Boys.
80s. Lost Boys, that's it. This scene, like the next scene when they cut to the scene where they're in the vampire nest.
In the barn, yeah.
Yes, and they're all drinking and just like they're still in their leather and denim, but that was the moment I was just like, this totally evokes that movie to
Absolutely.
me.
I loved that movie.
I've seen it.
Yay!
Hey.
Okay. They're kind of drinking. They're just relaxing, doing vampire-y. We've had a good day of hunting,
Mhm.
stuff. And Leather Girl is there, and she's kind of in charge. It seems like
Mhm.
she's of this group. And the young couple that they just kidnapped from the car is there, and I feel bad for them because they're tied up. They're watching, the vampires drink and party, and there's one vampire who's a douchebag, and is doing the whole trying to make them drink against their will.
Mhm.
And the girl ends up like taking a sip of the beer or a chug of the beer, and then ends up spitting it in his face,
Yeah.
which serves him right. And right before he hits her, Leather Girl is like, whoa, you don't get to do anything to this couple until Luther gets here. So
Yeah.
now it's like, who's Luther?
Yeah.
And
Cue
and
Luther.
cue yeah, cue the barn doors opening,
Yep.
and this beautiful backlit man
Mhm.
comes striding into the barn, also wearing leather. And I have to say, for as big as an entrance as he made, I thought his character was going to be far more
Sinister?
ferocious and
Yeah.
sinister. Yes. And he really wasn't. He
No.
really wasn't. But yeah, I thought he was going to be like the big bad.
Right.
If
Yeah.
his minions were able to track down and kill Elkins, who has been hunting and killing vampires for how long,
Yeah.
then this guy must be a real badass.
Yeah.
And it's not that he just wasn't as big as his entrance,
Right. Yeah.
led me to believe.
Yeah.
He was like, there was smoke in the background, the car
Uh-huh.
lights are shining into the barn, and it was very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I would love to have that kind of entrance anytime I walked
Exactly.
into the room. But you also automatically see Leather Girl like, Daddy's home,
Oh no.
and leaps up into Luther's arms, and
Mhm.
like I can't wait to show you all the stuff that we got
Yes.
for you.
Yes. Well, but he like starts barking orders about, like, he
Oh,
pets the girl's head and tells his minions, he's like, "Oh, go lock the guy up in the cage. Actually, just go ahead and have a snack." So then
yeah.
they attack him right
You,
away.
and this poor girl is watching this.
I know.
She just watches her boyfriend get eaten
Right.
by a
And I'm
vampire.
sure she's just like, "What the fuck is
What the hell? And so, but they say, we'll keep the girl. And so that's when Leather Girl is like, oh, Luther, let me go show you what we've done
happening?"
today.
The other girl's name is Kate, by the way.
Oh, Kate.
Yes.
Do we know this? Okay, it's
Yes.
Kate.
Yes, it is
Okay.
Kate.
So she takes Luther off to the side and shows him like all the stuff that she stole from Elkin's house. Like there's
Mhm.
money,
Bottles, papers,
yep,
just crap.
and and the gun. And she shows him the gun.
Yes.
And
He's
Luther's
he's
like,
he's pissed that she did this because at first you're like, "Oh, he couldn't hunt this person down, but she
right, like
could."
he
But it's
wanted to
because
do,
he
yeah,
chose not to, because he's like, "What are you doing now? All of his hunter friends are going to come
right. Don't poke
looking
the
for this."
bear. And
Yeah, exactly.
you've totally just like kicked a hornet's nest, basically. I'm sorry,
Yes.
all my animal references there. Um, but yeah, so he's actually a little mad that she
Yeah.
went and did this, and she's like, oh, sorry, Luther, but
Yeah,
look
I
what I
did
got
this
you,
for
and
you. Yeah.
I did a good thing here. And that's when she shows him the gun.
Mhm.
And said, but look, he tried to use this against us. How silly is that? Ha ha
Yeah,
ha.
yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, and Luther says, I know this gun.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, it looked like it was made around the time you were born.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very old gun, and Luther's
Yeah.
also very old.
Yep.
But he says, I know this gun, but that's all we know.
Yeah.
This is no ordinary gun.
Yes.
So the next thing we see is
Mm-hmm.
Dean and Sam driving the Impala. And I have to say, whenever Sam is driving or Dean is not driving the
Mm-hmm.
Impala, it takes me out. I'm
It's a
like,
little
what?
weird, yeah.
It is. It's so off-putting. It's just unnatural.
Yeah.
It is just unnatural. So for a second, I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh god. But so they're driving behind John in his truck, which, by the way, I did research is not the same truck from Route
I
60.
didn't think so. I once like we could had a nice look of it in clear light or in
Yeah,
daylight. It's like it's
yeah.
similar,
It's similar, but it's not the same.
not the same.
The headlights are different. The taillights are
Yeah.
different. Yeah, so not the same. But I had to get that out of my system because I was not gonna. If they use the same truck, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, props. But yeah, so John calls Dean and tells him, hey, well, let's pull off it, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
directions. And so Dean relays this information to Sam while he's driving, and Sam's like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Dad says there's vampires this way. How does he know? I don't know. Sam like puts the pedal down and like passes John
Yeah.
and then slams on the brake in front of him, causing John to like slam on his brakes. And it's like, everybody out of the car, what are you doing? What's
Yeah, yeah,
going on?
yeah.
What's the matter with you? And they have another fight. And it's the exact same fight.
It is. It's the exact same fight that doesn't go anywhere because no one is stepping down from their position. They're
Right.
both so stubborn. They're just like, no, you got to do what I tell you to. No, I don't.
No, just tell us what's going on and I'll
Yeah.
do it. No, I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
again, why won't John tell them what's
Mhm.
actually happening? It's like, now it's for me, I'm like, what's the big secret?
Right.
I'm no longer just mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's obviously a reason he's not telling them. And it's not just I'm a dick.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's not telling him. And Sam, I'm like, Sam, get it. He's not going to tell you no matter how much you yell at him. He's not
Right.
going to tell you.
Yeah.
And Dean caught in the middle. Dean actually looked really small in a lot of these shots.
He did.
And I don't know if they did that intentionally or not to really diminish his personality in these scenes.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how tall Jeffrey Dean Morgan is. I mean, because I know Sam is like a giant.
I'll have to look that up. But yeah, he was always in the background. And he always just seemed short and small in any of these scenes between Sam and John. And in this particular argument, Dean eventually steps between them and is like, back down, back down. We don't have time for this. Let's just get in the car and go and we can fight about this later. Which doesn't solve anything. It does put an end to the fight in that moment, but it doesn't actually solve anything. So Dean and Sam get back in the Impala. John gets back in the truck, and they drive. They drive to whatever John has decided to take, wherever John has directed them to go, which is to the barn where the vampire nest is.
Yes,
we learn.
Right. Okay, so Jared Padalecki, 6'4",
yeah,
tall. Jensen Ackles, 6'1". Jeffrey Dean Morgan, 6 foot.
What?
Yeah. According to Wikipedia, I mean this could be wrong.
Wow.
Because it's Wikipedia, but yep. That's.
Oh my gosh. Well, then they must have deliberately made Jensen look small.
Yeah.
And I don't mean tiny, but
No, just short.
Just short compared to the other men who are fighting. So they all drive off mad.
Yeah.
Right. And so back at the barn, Kate is watching. I mean, the girl, the kidnapped girl, is watching like Luther and Kate
doing it
half naked, making out, and 2 steps away from penetration.
Yeah.
And Luther turns around and is like, "Ooh, you like to watch?" Like she has a choice.
Right.
They're doing it right in front of her. And so they walk over to the girl and they slit Kate's wrists.
Mm-hmm.
And Kate drinks a little bit of her own blood, and then
Mhm.
kisses
Yeah.
this girl
Mhm.
and turns her. So like makes out with her and turns her.
Yeah.
We don't see this. We just see them making out, and then the girl is like all glazed up, and Luther's like, "Welcome home, baby."
Yeah. Yeah. So you assume that she's now a
She's
part of the
turned.
pack, right?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and this girl, her face, like while Kate is making out with her, she's just like, "What is happening right now?"
Right. Oh, first she's like, "Don't, you're not going to kill me, are you?" And they're
Yeah.
like, "No, baby, we're going to make you so high."
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're trying to be all like sultry and sexy cool, and it's a little weird for me.
All of the Winchesters are now outside of the barn of the vampire's nest,
Right.
preparing
And
for their invasion, and they see like Luther and somebody else like walking out in the sunlight. So there it is,
it's yes,
solidified. It's
it's
like, oh, I guess it doesn't kill
I guess
them.
right,
It's just like
right,
a bad sunburn.
right.
John talks about, um, so John says that the only way to kill them is by beheading them. So then they go to their respective weapon arsenals in the back of their
Their
car.
trunks. Oh my
Did
gosh.
you see John's? Like how
It's like
nice it
remote
was.
controlled, completely like foam fitted cutouts for
Yes,
all of his weapons. They're all
it's
shiny and clean.
it's beautiful.
It's and it even made a noise. And he was like
Yeah,
when it opened up. And
yeah,
Dean looks over and it's like first he's like, wow, and then you can't see him deflate a little because he's like,
yeah,
ooh. So it went from being like, wow, that's cool to oh, mine's not as nice.
yes,
It totally like deflates him.
yep.
And then but he's still like, "Hey dad, do you need an extra machete? We got one." He's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
John whips out this like
Beautiful,
woo,
shiny, polished.
shiny, sharp teeth. Like it's not just for whacking down the, trees in the jungle.
No.
This was a machine of a
Mhm.
machete.
Mhm.
Um I I wanted to take one step backwards where they were listening. They were talking about the sunburn, or they're watching the
Mhm.
vampires
Yeah.
come out into the sun. Did you hear Dean? He goes, "Son of a bitch," and I just wanted to point out his little "son of a bitch"
Oh,
motif.
maybe I did, but I'm just so used to
It,
hearing him
it,
say
I
"son
know,
of a bitch."
but it makes me happy when he does.
It does.
Son of a bitch. So yeah, um, a little bit of machete envy
Machete envy and
and
just like
trunk.
yeah, weapon trunk envy.
Yeah. Oh, I felt again. Dean looked really small. He looked really
He's like,
small.
oh, that's
It's
good as
kind of
dad.
reminded me of like, remember how excited he was when he held up his like
And the
EMF
EMF.
Walkman? That's how that was the exact same look. And then he's like,
Yeah.
oh, dad has a better
Yes.
one.
But
But John also then reluctantly tells them about the cult,
the
like
cult.
the history of the cult, which if you watch the show, the cult is huge. It's another big prop introduced into the show that
Yes.
becomes plot points.
Yes, this continues, for several seasons, if not, even to the end. So,
Yeah.
if for people who are just now watching the show, this is a big moment here.
The history of the gun and the gun itself
Yes.
is monumental. And
Yes.
to summarize the gun, Samuel Colt himself made this gun specifically for hunters, for supernatural hunters.
Hmm.
Back in his day, and apparently the dates are like it was on the Halley's comet was flying over. It was the day that people were killed at the Alamo.
I
I
made a
mean,
timeline of that.
oh, you did. Oh, do you want to
Yes.
do it then?
No, go ahead
Go
and
ahead.
do your story, and then we'll come back to it.
That's all I'm saying about it because I
Oh,
didn't want to do the whole the history of who had it. I mean, it was like it fell out of Samuel Colt's hands,
yes.
and
So, yeah. So, like, he
go
made
ahead.
13 bullets, and about half of them were used before it disappeared. And somehow Daniel Elkins got a hold of it. So he still has 6 to 7 bullets, I think.
Right, right.
Um,
Special supernatural
yes. It can,
hunter bullets.
yes, yes. The thing to remember most about this gun is that it can kill any supernatural thing.
Yep. It can kill anything, including all supernatural things.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
With a bullet, because not everything can be killed by just a regular bullet. So
Right. It's
this
these
is,
bullets from this gun.
yes.
Yeah.
And there's some things inscribed, there's like the little pentagram inscribed on the handle and on the barrel, I guess. It says
Yeah.
non Timebo Mala, which means I will not fear evil things.
Yep.
So, the only reason why I looked up the timeline, because I just accepted it as is until I happened to see a thing on IMDb
Yeah, that
about
the
it.
dates didn't quite line up.
Right. So, Halley's Comet came in August of 1835.
Mm-hmm.
Also in 1835, at some point, it didn't say a month or whatever, Samuel Colt patented his revolver in England and in France. In February to March of 1836 is when the Alamo happened. And also sometime in 1836 is when he got the U.S. patent for the revolver.
Ah.
So
the timelines are right. They're
it's
they're
somewhere in
just
between that. Maybe he started building it in 1835 and ended it when the Alamo happened. I don't know, but it wasn't just like
that day.
Yeah, because Halley's Comet did not happen at the same time as the Alamo.
Right. All right. A little bit of storytelling, little what do you call that?
Summarizing.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly.
Suspension of disbelief, or So with that information in hand,
Yes.
that now their mission has changed a little bit. It's not just to go kill vampires, it's to retrieve the gun that they think the vampires have.
And why? Why do they want to get this gun?
To kill the demon.
The demon.
The demon that killed their mom.
Yes, because John has been researching how can I kill this demon, because they don't have that much experience with demons.
Right.
But if he had this gun that can kill any supernatural thing, no questions asked,
that would be the end of their journey.
Yep.
Yeah. So they sneak into the barn, and all the vampires are asleep in hammocks, and except for Kate and Luther, who are in a bed.
Yep. Poor minions.
Yeah. They don't seem to be too upset by snoozing in their hammocks. John sees the Colt by their bed, and he heads off that way.
Yeah.
Sam sees the girl still tied up and heads to her. Dean sees a cage full of people and heads to them.
Yes.
So they all have their separate missions.
Yes, and Dean makes a few noises, but they don't wake up.
Beer bottles.
I know.
Right.
John squeaks some floorboards, and they don't wake up. They're doing good.
However.
Yeah.
But then Sam goes to the girl and starts to untie her and is like, "Shh, I'm here to rescue you." Not realizing, of course, that she is a vampire.
Right.
And she wakes up and sounds the alarm. She just screams.
Oh my god, this was the most terrifying scream. Because it wasn't just a girl scream, it's the
No,
there was some sort of there was something demonic or bass baritone about the scream.
Demonic and animalish. It wasn't like animalicious, I almost said. It's delicious.
Animalicious.
Animalicious yelling. No, it was just this. Yeah, it was a supernatural / human growly yell.
Yep.
And everybody wakes up. Mm-hmm. And Sam and Dean managed to escape, but without the girl and without the people. But then where's Dad? Like they are outside the barn, and where's Dad? Then a few seconds later, Dad runs out. Mm-hmm. So everybody made it out alive with the vampires not on their tail. But Dad didn't get the gun. It's a bit of a failure. They have to move to another plan. And he automatically comes up with this plan to he sends Dean to a funeral home. He's like, you got to go to a funeral home. Yep. So we don't know why at this point.
Nope. And then it just cuts to John and Sam alone back at the motel room. Waiting for Dean.
Right. And they get to have another father-son moment where John actually kind of settles things. He's like, I want to apologize. Yeah. This is never the life I wanted you guys to have.
He even started a college fund for both of them.
Yeah. And he's like, I thought we were going to have a normal life. Mm-hmm. And so when it started to not be normal, that's when I turned into a drill sergeant, and I had to just take charge.
Yeah, he says some really touching and therapeutic, maybe, are the things, if he had gone to therapy, like, maybe he would have reached this
Yeah.
revelation sooner.
Well,
He's
yeah,
like,
I mean,
ever since your mother died, I saw evil everywhere, and I stopped being your father and started being your drill sergeant.
yeah. But he also says he did it when Sam finally had enough and left.
Mhm.
He said, I wasn't mad that you left. I was concerned that you were now going to be all alone and
Right.
vulnerable. So
Yeah.
it's like you left our protective circle.
Right.
That's what got me, is that
Yeah.
you were alone and vulnerable, and I just couldn't stand that.
Right. Because I saw evil everywhere. So, I was just scared. I was scared that you were alone.
Did you notice that he called him Sammy,
Yes, I did.
and Sam didn't even flinch?
No,
No,
didn't do his like, don't call me Sammy.
don't call me Sammy. Nope. It was just dad talking to his son,
Mhm.
and it was, I was like, oh, he
Oh.
didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Oh. And John's like, the thing that got me is that I learned we're just so different. We're just so different. And that's when Sam says, but we're not. We have
Yeah.
the most in common between Jess and mom dying,
Yeah.
and having to live these, the hunter's life. And he's like laughing at this. He's like, you're this is what you're upset about our differences, but we actually have the most in common.
Yeah. And spend his college funds on ammo.
Right. Yeah, whatever happened to our college
Yeah.
funds? Spent it on ammo. That's a lot of ammo if you think about it.
No kidding.
And in walks Dean, back from his mission at the funeral parlor or the
Mhm.
morgue, wherever he went. But he pulls out this bottle of,
Blood.
we're
Mhm.
assuming it's blood because the name of the episode is Dead Man's Blood, and he was just at a funeral home.
Right.
So they decide the plan is to set a trap for the vampires,
Mhm.
to like lure them out. We don't know the full plan, but
No,
it's just
no.
to
Dad just says, "You know what to do," and then it cuts
next thing we
to it's nighttime, and Dean is working in his car, or like in the
under the
engine of his
hood.
car. Mhm.
Yeah. And Kate shows up
Mhm.
and offers to help. Engine trouble. Yeah. And does this like weird flirting with him.
Yeah, it's a seduction slash kicking his ass slash I don't even know.
Yeah, and, she's like, "Hey, I could fix your car and take you back to my place." And he says, "I'm not into necrophilia," and all she does is like punch him or something. I'm like, isn't she a little alarmed that he just outed her as a vampire? You know? But no, then they keep going back and forth with the whole.
I think that she knew that he was a hunter because Dad says something earlier, like right after they run out of the house, that, once a vampire catches your scent, it's like there for life. So they already
Uh,
knew that they were in their house.
okay,
And
all right.
having
Well,
known that Elkins was a hunter,
they
Elvis.
put the pieces out.
Hey, bugger. Uh, so no, I think that this was they like these are the guys that were
They
just in
knew.
our house, so they know who we are.
All right, so
So
there
she's
was just
she's
like a
she's
cat
toying with
cat
her
playing with her
prey.
mouse.
Exactly.
Yes.
Cats
Oh
again.
my god. So yeah, I do find it funny though that Dean is fine with this plan. You know, that he's like, yeah, I'll be the bait. I'll be the one who has to, be sexually accosted by a vampire. It's okay. Do whatever it takes,
Yeah.
to bring this vampire down. So right before Kate basically goes to take Dean down, out of the woods fly arrows, and
Mhm.
she's shot in the heart with an arrow, and the other vampire who's with her is shot in the heart, and she's
Yeah.
like she's like, damn it,
Yeah.
another shirt,
Yeah.
another arrow in my chest, and don't you know this doesn't affect us. And
Mhm.
that's when John comes out of the woods and says, wait for it, that these arrows were dipped in dead man's blood. It's like, that's poison to you guys, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So that's
Little
another part that I intentionally kept out of the supernatural vampire
ah
lore myth. It's that they are allergic
yeah.
essentially to dead
Doesn't
man's
kill
blood.
them.
Mhm.
It poisons their blood.
Yeah, for a
Um,
period of time, not forever, because he does say
right,
that like the blood sickness will wear off eventually, but
right,
for now she's like kind of comatose.
right. So dad like sends Sam and Dean off, and to I guess to go back to the nest. And in the meantime, cuts off the head of the other vampire, but
Hmm.
keeps Kate.
Yes.
He keeps Kate and puts her in the truck.
Right. They don't
Um,
go to the nest yet because they make a fire, where he pours
Oh,
saffron, skunk cabbage, and trillium into the fire, and they're going to put those ashes
ashes
like
on them.
on them, so it kind of hides their scent and Kate's scent
Right.
for at least a
Right.
little bit of time.
I couldn't remember where in the process they had to roll in skunk cabbage alone
Right, right,
is disgusting, but burnt skunk cabbage ash, I can't imagine.
right. And here's yet another, like one of several Winchester tension moments
Yeah.
where Sam is now pressuring Dad to let them help him. Like, not only on this particular mission, because John again wants to, like, go off on his own. It's like, let me do this and you'll do this, and then
Right.
leave it there. Don't come back for me, essentially. But also in the end, in the final mission of killing the demon, Dad still wants to go it alone, and Sam is like, no, we are
No.
stronger together. We
Right.
can do
Once
this.
once we finish this job, then we go do the next job together,
Yes.
right? Right? And John still is hedging
Yes. But Dean is on Sam's side this time.
fully.
He's totally just
Yeah,
like,
he's
I've been
like, I call
thinking about
bullshit,
it.
Dad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's still the way this conversation ends. John still hasn't made any promises that he's going to not go off on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he
And
he he does he admits that he's too scared to potentially watch his children die because it was
oh,
too much for him to watch his wife die and their mother die. So he's just like, I can't go through
I
that
can't.
again.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't be myself as a hunter if I have to watch out for you guys.
Yeah.
And Dean's like, bullshit, or that's a load of crap. It's so
Yeah.
that you can't be as reckless.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then what do you think if something happens to you, how are we supposed to take that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're only thinking about yourself, you're not thinking about us
Yeah.
in this scenario. But John's like, this demon is a bad son of a bitch, and the chances of me living, I'm not expecting to live after this battle if I
Mm-hmm.
battle this demon. So now Luther is out looking for Dean and Sam and John with the remaining nest.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're like trying to game plan, like how we find these guys, they hear like a truck driving by, and one of the vampires is like, oh, that's just a truck up on the freeway. But Luther kind of does like sniff sniff.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's Kate.
Yeah.
That's Kate. Kate's in that car. I mean, and John is deliberately driving the bait car,
Yeah.
so he's expecting the vampires to stop them,
Yes.
and they do.
Yeah.
They show up in the road in front of him. He
Mm-hmm.
stops the car, and he gets out of the car. Luther's out of the car, and they have a fairly adult conversation.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
They're trying to do a
you know.
trade. Meanwhile, the boys invade the nest again. And they sneak in relatively unnoticed. Like one guy thinks he maybe hears something, is kind of looking around, but they don't like smell them.
Right.
There's not like a someone's here. Um and Dean chops the head off of one of them. You assume that the rest of them, like whoever's left there, like physically in the barn, are dead.
Yeah.
Dean goes back to the caged victims and says, I told you I'd be back. And, unlocks the cage. That's being settled there in the nest. And then back to John and Luther. Yes, they're
Yep.
having an adult conversation about, a trade. It's like, you give me the gun, and I'll give you your girl.
And they start to do it. So Luther like kicks the gun over towards John, and John starts to hedge closer to the gun. As he bends over to pick it up, Kate, who's been in his arms, being slightly docile, suddenly becomes not docile and like knocks him back. And then Luther like punches him and sends him flying into the truck,
Yeah.
he gets like smashes the window out, and John is like knocked out cold
Yeah.
on the ground. And then arrows shoot out of
Yeah.
the woods.
Yeah.
Dean and Sam to the rescue.
Yay.
Except Sam gets freaking captured
I know. Like they
by
they do kill a few, I think.
Yes, they do kill a few, but Sam is then captured by Luther.
Yes.
And Dean goes to like one more heroic, I am gonna get you, like, and Luther's like, I'll break his neck.
Mhm.
And Dean clearly sees that will happen, so he drops the machete, and it's a stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
But then John kind of comes to,
Yeah. You don't
right?
see him coming to, you just hear John's voice behind while Luther is doing like a very mini monologue. Of,
Right.
why
Mini
don't you
monologue.
people leave us alone? We want to live too. And then
Oh,
you hear,
that's right.
yeah.
Luther says, "Why can't you people leave us alone? We have as much right to live as you do." And then you hear John behind him saying, "I don't think so."
Mm-hmm.
And he has since grabbed the gun, the
Mm-hmm.
Colt, and he's now pointing it at Luther,
Mm-hmm.
at Luther's head, and shoots him in the head.
Yeah, pulls the trigger, and like there's this scene is so cool
So cool. Go ahead.
because like the bullet is like slow motion,
Yes.
this little spinny thingy, and like straight into Luther's forehead.
And there's like a thunder boom
Yeah.
and a thunder rumble.
Yes, but like
There's like
in his
dark.
body, like in his head, it's like
Yeah.
not, it's, or I guess in his bubble, like in
Yeah.
Luther's personal bubble. It's not like up in the sky. It's just
No, no,
like
no.
right
It's
here.
the sound of the bullet and the sound of what it's doing to Luther.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's like dark whispers underneath. There's all this whispering
Mm-hmm.
happening, and Luther, it made like, it looked like the bullet hole made like a pentagram almost
It
on
did
his
kind of
head.
look like that. I couldn't tell for sure, but
Yeah,
it's like a big, dark, like almost
hole
burnt
in his head.
spot in his head. Yeah.
Yep,
And you can see kind of like some almost like electrocution
electric.
underneath.
Yep, he falls to his knees,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's just one final boom
Yeah.
and a small light flash, and you just see like the light leave his body. It's
Yeah.
like goes,
Yeah.
and he's dead. And Kate is like,
Yeah,
Luther.
she's distraught.
Yeah.
The captured girl who is now a vampire, she
Yep.
grabs Kate because Kate wants to go after all these guys, but it's just
Right.
the two of them left now.
Right. Throws her in the car, in their car,
Yeah.
and drives off.
Yeah.
And the boys don't try to even go after them. They're just having watched that bullet kill
Yeah.
the vampire. All three of them, Sam,
Uh-huh.
Dean, and John, are just like,
Yeah, all their
wow.
reactions are like different but equally
Yeah.
as
As like,
shocked or relieved, or
this,
it's something. It's just like, "Oh my God, this tool that
it
we now
works.
have." Yeah, it
Yeah, it
works.
works, and it's ours.
Yes.
Yes. So back at the motel, the boys are packing up. John kind of swaggers in. I guess he's got
Mhm.
his hands in his pockets. Everybody's, relaxed. And John's like, "You disregarded a direct order
Mhm.
of mine." The boy's like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah,
And they're
Sam
expecting.
says, "Yes, sir." And Dean is the one with the smartass remark this time. And
Yep.
Sam's face was like, "Oh shit." Like
Yeah.
what's going
And Dean says, "We saved your ass."
Mhm.
John gives him a compliment,
Yeah.
which the only other compliment he gave us in the beginning with is like, "Good job, covering your tracks."
Yeah.
And he finally says, "It scares me to admit this, but we are stronger together.
Yeah.
We're stronger together as a family. Let's go after this demon together."
Mhm.
And Dean and Sam both say, "Yes, sir."
Oh, that's right. They do. I didn't write
They
that
both say,
down.
"Yes, sir," together.
Mhm.
Yeah, you blew it, Sammy. I
I'm sorry.
totally.
You set me up for it. I dropped the ball.
It's okay. All right, try it again. Ready? No.
Yes. Take
And then
two.
they both say together,
Yes, sir.
"Yes, sir." And they don't even look at each other. It's just, "Yes, sir."
Mhm.
And it's what it was supposed to be, and they did it.
Mhm.
Um, this scene and this setup with Sam and Dean is the exact same shot from Shadow.
That's what yeah.
It's the exact same "yes, sir" moment
Yeah.
from Shadow.
Uh-huh.
The lighting's a little bit different,
Yeah, yeah.
but Sam and Dean in the frame are the exact same position for the
Yeah.
exact same time that they said "yes, sir."
Mhm.
But there's no drive away. There's no like
No.
drive away banter. There's no walk away banter. It's just like single solo shots of Sam, Dean, and John,
Yeah.
and it's just their faces
Yeah.
in single shots. They're not in any shared screens. It's just first one, then the other,
Mhm.
and then the other, and then
And I
darkness.
felt like Sam's face really kind of said it all. I don't know. I can't really describe it, but he was just so happy to have Dad finally on their side. And literally, they now are all working together in
Right.
one cohesive
Well, as a
partnership.
cohesive unit, yeah.
Yeah, unit.
There's so much riding on this I think, more for Sam,
Yeah.
because going after the demon that killed his mom, that
Yeah.
killed his girlfriend,
Yeah.
that has done something to him with his
Right.
not
Yeah.
telekinesis, his premonitions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's got his family together to do it. So I think
Yeah.
in this moment it means so much more to Sam, which is
Yeah.
why they let him have that.
The final shot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I liked this episode. I got tired of the each time it was a fight, a family fight. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
not again. But each fight revealed more
It
and
did. Yeah.
more and more.
Yeah, each fight had its purpose, as annoying as it was, for sure. But then but it made it that much sweeter in the end. You know,
Yes.
in both the John and Sam solo moment, you know, when they're at the motel, you know, having their little
Yeah.
come to Jesus kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
this moment here at the end, you know, when he's finally like, okay,
Yeah.
you are right, let's be together.
Right. Right. So I liked it.
I do
I
too.
liked it. It wasn't the only thing that I kind of shrugged my shoulders at is the general makeup of the vampires in this episode.
Hmm.
But it's just because I was so used to Buffy. I was
Right.
so used to the energy and the characters and the personalities of the vampires in Buffy and
Yeah.
Angel.
Yeah.
So to see this kind of uh bland version
Mhm.
of them, it
Mhm.
kind of bummed me out. There's a couple times I wrote my notes, I was like, boring.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the only thing that these vampires do is like drink out of the bottle like they're rebels. It's
Yeah.
very, and then dance sexy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it
No,
wasn't
they're not
as
nearly as textured as but the Buffy vampires are.
right.
But that's also because the vampires are main characters as well in
Well,
Buffy.
there's that. Sure,
And
sure.
I felt the same way that you did, but about like Anne Rice, like Interview with the Vampire or the Vampire Lestat or the Queen of the Damned, you know, those kind the books and the movies and stuff that go with them.
Yeah.
Well, Anne Rice, you know, she makes them out to be kind of an anti-hero almost.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
you're like really wanting them to win whatever it is that they're going for. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot more flavor to most other vampire stories. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
odd. It's almost odd to see the vampires as strictly the bad guy, you know, in a series and also not the main bad guy. You know, these are just
Right.
like the monster of the day kind of thing.
Right. 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 Exactly. Up until this point, it's the first time like they've ever mentioned vampires,
Yeah,
and same
20
thing.
episodes into the first season. You
Right.
know?
Which is why it's so funny that Dean is like, who knew? You
What?
know?
So, that's it.
Bye.
My, I just I don't know. I don't really have anything to add for today because we
uh, no,
talked a long time.
it was a straightforward episode. I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of those episodes that it finally kind of wiped the slate clean. Now we can move forward again.
Yes.
They've done their battles, they've done their family battles, they're united. We know what they're doing next. They're going to start hunting this demon.
Yes.
So now all we have to do is watch.
Yes, for 2 more episodes.
Yeah. So so I mean, but that's great. That's how this episode leaves you with
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we're
get to exhale
yeah.
and get ready for the battle. It's like
Yes.
for me, that anytime that the heroes are united, like whatever their personal battles are or their interpersonal battles are, once they get resolved, I feel like I can breathe and we can face the next challenge together. Anytime that the family is not together
Yeah.
on things, makes it really hard for me to watch these episodes
Yeah.
because I just want them to be a family. I just
Yes,
want
you
them.
just want it to be
Yeah.
resolved. Totally
Yeah.
get it.
So this one resolved a lot.
Yeah. And good thing too because we got some juicy stuff coming up
Okay, good. Good.
to
So what's
watch
the
and to talk about. So the next one is Salvation.
Oh, okay.
And it's written by our favorite pair, Sarah Gamble and Rael Tucker.
I love them.
I know, I love them too. So, thank you everyone for tuning into this week's episode. I know it was kind of a long one, but you know, at this point it kind of needs to be leading up to the final boss, so to speak.
Yes.
So please follow us, like us, subscribe to us, rate us on anywhere you can listen to and or rate podcasts. And social media as well. We're on all of them, essentially. Our Instagram and Facebook is at Salt and Burn This Pod. Our Twitter is at Salt and Burn This. You can message us there. You can comment on our things there.
You can share us.
Yes,
You can
share us,
retweet
please.
us.
Yes, we like that.
We have a lot of podcasters who are actually fellow podcasters who are retweeting us, which is really nice.
I know, it's really nice.
Yeah. I
So-
didn't write them down. I will next time. I'll shout
Fail.
them out. I know.
Fired.
I know. I always feel bad because if I leave somebody out, I feel guilty. So
Yeah, I
I'll just
understand
say that there are fellow podcasters and we appreciate them shouting us out and retweeting us.
Yes,
So we
thank
shall
you.
do the same.
Yes, and we will see you next week for Salvation. We're cutting it close to the end. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Of the first season, I should say.
Yeah, I was like, but still,
Yeah.
This is climactic.
We'll see you
Good to
next
see
week,
you,
guys.
Sammy.
You too. Bye.
Bye.